The entire nation held its breath as Prince Adrian stood before the microphone, cameras flashing from every direction. Behind him, 20 elegant women in designer gowns waited anxiously, each one convinced she would be chosen. But Adrian's eyes weren't on any of them. He was searching the crowd for someone else, a simple village girl in a borrowed dress who had tried to run away just hours before. "I know you're all waiting for my announcement," Adrian said, his voice steady but emotional. "The woman I choose to stand beside me is not here on this stage. She's not wearing diamonds or expensive perfume. But she's the only one who ever saw me as just a man, not a prince or a bank account." The crowd erupted in confused whispers. The cameras zoomed in on the shocked faces of the contestants. And somewhere in the back, hidden behind palace staff, Amiya felt her heart stop beating. But before we see how this incredible love story unfolds, welcome to TeeJay Stories, where we bring you the most emotional, dramatic, and heartwarming African tales that will touch your soul. If you love stories about true love conquering all odds, genuine people winning against fake society, and happy endings that make you believe in miracles, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to TeeJay Stories, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below telling us if you believe a prince can truly fall in love with an ordinary girl, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this beautiful story. Now, let's go back to the beginning and see how Amiya's impossible fairy tale started. The morning sun was already hot when Amiya wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. At 22, she'd learned that survival meant working harder than everyone else and expecting nothing in return. The small roadside restaurant where she worked, Mama Kemi's Bukka, was already filling up with morning customers demanding jollof rice, fried plantains, and hot tea. "Amiya. Table 5 is waiting," Mama Kemi shouted from the kitchen, her voice competing with the sizzle of frying meat. "Coming, Ma." Amiya grabbed 3 plates balanced on her arms, a skill she'd perfected after 2 years of working here. Her faded yellow blouse and worn brown skirt were clean but clearly old, patched in places where the fabric had given way. Her natural hair was pulled back in a simple bun, no time or money for the elaborate braids other girls her age wore. She delivered the food with a warm smile, collected the payment, and rushed back to the kitchen. This was her life, work, work, and more work. But Amiya never complained. She'd learned long ago that orphans didn't have the luxury of complaints. "You're too nice to these people," said Blessing, another worker who was taking a break in the corner. "They don't even tip you properly." Amiya shrugged. "At least they pay for the food." "That's enough." "Enough for what?" "You'll be poor forever with that attitude." Blessing scrolled through her phone, showing off pictures of her boyfriend's new car. "Me, I'm looking for a rich man. That's the only way out of this village." Amiya didn't respond. She'd heard this conversation 1,000 times. Everyone in the village had the same dream, escape through money, marriage, or luck. But Amiya had learned to dream smaller, safer dreams. Maybe one day she'd save enough to rent a small room of her own. Maybe she'd finish the teaching course she'd started online. Maybe. By noon, her shift at the restaurant ended, but her day wasn't over. Amiya hurried through the dusty village roads toward the community center, really just a big tree with benches underneath, where she spent her afternoons tutoring children for free. "Teacher Amiya." Little Kayamika ran up to her, waving a notebook. "I got 8 out of 10 on my mathematics test." Amiya's tired face broke into a genuine smile. "Kayamika, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." "My mother says you're wasting your time teaching us for free," the little girl said innocently. "She says nobody does anything for free unless they're foolish." The words stung, but Amiya kept smiling. "Your mother is just worried about you. Now, show me what you got wrong so we can fix it." As she settled under the tree with 6 children around her, some villagers walked past, shaking their heads. She could hear their whispers. "That orphan girl, always trying to be important, she thinks she's better than us because she can read, poor thing has no family, no future, just wasting her time." Amiya had learned to let the words slide off her like water. What else could she do? The village was thrown into chaos around 3 in the afternoon. Amiya heard the commotion first, excited shouts, people running, the sound of vehicles that definitely didn't belong in their poor neighborhood. "It's the prince," someone screamed. "Prince Adrian is here." The children abandoned their books and ran toward the main road. Amiya followed slowly, curiosity getting the better of her. She'd seen Prince Adrian on television, of course, everyone had. He was the young billionaire prince, CEO of some big technology company, always in the news for his business deals and charity work. But she'd never imagined he'd come to their forgotten village. By the time she reached the main road, a crowd had gathered. 3 black luxury SUVs were parked in front of the new community health center that was being built. Security guards in dark suits created a perimeter, while cameras from news stations captured everything. And then he stepped out. Prince Adrian was even more striking in person than on television. Tall, well-built, with rich dark brown skin and sharp, intelligent features. He wore a simple white shirt and dark trousers, no crown, no royal robes, but his presence commanded attention anyway. Dark sunglasses covered his eyes, and his expression was carefully neutral. Young women immediately started pushing forward, adjusting their clothes, taking out phones for selfies. Amiya watched from the back of the crowd, slightly amused by the chaos. One girl literally pushed another aside to get closer. Another was reapplying lipstick frantically. "Your Highness. Look here. Prince Adrian, please, one photo. My prince, I love you." Adrian's jaw tightened slightly, the only sign that he was uncomfortable with the attention. He moved toward the health center with his entourage, inspecting the construction, speaking with contractors, nodding at explanations. The whole time, cameras followed his every move, and people jostled for position. Amiya turned to leave. She had to get back to Mama Kemi's to help with the evening shift. Royal visits were exciting, but they didn't pay her bills or fill her stomach. She was walking back toward the restaurant when she heard running footsteps behind her. "Teacher. Teacher Amiya." It was Emika, one of her students, breathing hard. "Mama Kemi sent me. She says come quickly. There's a special order and she needs you." Amiya picked up her pace, half running back to the restaurant. When she burst through the door, Mama Kemi was in a panic. "Where have you been?" "The prince's security came. They want food delivered to the health center site, 20 portions. This could put us on the map, girl. Start packing now." For the next 30 minutes, Amiya worked faster than she ever had, carefully packaging rice, stew, meat, plantains into containers. Her hands were shaking with nervousness. This was huge for Mama Kemi's small business. "I'm sending you to deliver it," Mama Kemi announced. "Me? But everyone else looks too rough. You're the most presentable. Go. And don't embarrass me." Amiya found herself loading containers into a wheelbarrow, they didn't have a car, and pushing it down the road toward the health center. Her arms ached, sweat poured down her face, but she kept going. She was almost there when disaster struck. A motorcycle swerved too close, honking loudly. Amiya jumped back, the wheelbarrow tipped, and one container fell, right onto her lap, spilling hot stew all over her yellow blouse and skirt. No, no, no. Amiya wanted to cry. The food was ruined. Her clothes were ruined. Mama Kemi would be furious. She was trying to salvage what she could when a shadow fell over her. "Are you hurt?" Amiya looked up, and her breath caught. Prince Adrian stood there, sunglasses removed, genuine concern in his dark eyes. Up close, she could see he had kind eyes, tired, but kind. I'm fine, Your Highness," she stammered, scrambling to her feet and immediately regretting it as stew dripped down her clothes. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to." "You didn't do anything wrong," he said quietly. Before she could protest, he'd pulled out a clean handkerchief and handed it to her. "Here. I can't take that, it's... Please. His voice was gentle but firm. Their eyes met for just a moment, and something passed between them, something neither of them understood yet. Adrian's security team quickly moved to help clean up the spilled food, but the prince waved them back. He was still standing there, watching Amiya with an expression she couldn't quite read. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amiya, Your Highness." She clutched his handkerchief, acutely aware of how ridiculous she must look covered in stew. "Amiya," he repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "You work at the restaurant?" "Yes, sir." "I mean, Your Highness. I'm so sorry about the food." "Mama Kemi will," she stopped, fighting back tears. She couldn't afford to lose this job. "I'll handle it," Adrian said simply. He pulled out his phone, made a quick call, and within minutes, one of his assistants was arranging payment for triple the original order. "Is that enough to cover the loss?" Amiya's eyes widened. It was more than she made in 2 months. "Your Highness, that's too much. Consider it compensation for your ruined clothes." He gave her a slight smile, the first real smile she'd seen on his face since he arrived. "And for your hard work. I saw you teaching those children earlier under the tree." Before Amiya could respond, his security team was ushering him away. But he looked back once, and their eyes met again. Then he was gone, disappearing into his SUV, and Amiya was left standing there covered in stew, holding a handkerchief that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. The entire nation exploded when the announcement came through every news channel, social media platform, and radio station: Prince Adrian to choose his bride in 30 days through the Royal Partnership Initiative. In the village, everyone gathered around any available screen to watch the press conference. Prince Adrian stood at a podium, looking uncomfortable but determined. "This isn't about finding a wife the traditional way," he explained to the reporters. "I want to find a true partner, someone with character, compassion, and integrity. The Royal Partnership Initiative will test these qualities, not wealth or family connections. Any woman between 21 and 30 can be nominated." Within hours, social media went insane. Rich families immediately began preparing their daughters. Instagram influencers posted photos with captions like, "Future princess right here, crown sparkles," and "Can't wait to meet my prince gemstone." Designer boutiques sold out of gowns. Beauty salons were fully booked for months. In the village, Blessing was glued to her phone. "Amiya, look at this. They're saying he might choose from anywhere, even villages. I'm going to enter." Amiya barely looked up from the children's homework she was grading. "Good luck, Blessing." "You should enter too," Blessing said, then burst out laughing. "Actually, no. Can you imagine? You in your old clothes standing next to all those rich, beautiful girls? They'd laugh you out of the palace." The other women in the restaurant joined in the laughter. Amiya kept her head down, her cheeks burning. She'd learned long ago that responding only made the mockery worse. Amiya was teaching her evening class under the tree when a sleek black car pulled up, completely out of place in the dusty village. A woman in an elegant business suit stepped out, carrying a tablet. "Amiya Okonkwo," the woman called out. Amiya stood slowly, her heart pounding. Had she done something wrong? "Yes, Ma. I'm Sarah Adeyemi, coordinator for the Royal Partnership Initiative." The woman smiled warmly. "Your name has been submitted as a candidate, and the selection committee has approved your participation. Congratulations." The children gasped. The few adults nearby stopped to stare. "There must be a mistake," Amiya whispered. "I didn't submit my name. Someone nominated you, a humanitarian worker who observed your volunteer teaching. All nominations are confidential." Sarah handed her an elegant envelope. Inside, you'll find details about the first selection event, which takes place in 3 days at the Grand Palace Hotel in the capital. Transportation will be provided. Amiya's hands shook as she took the envelope. I can't. I don't have the right clothes, I don't know anything about." "The initiative provides everything necessary," Sarah said gently. "All you need to bring is yourself." The car will pick you up at 6 a.m. on Friday. I hope to see you there, Amiya. As the car drove away, the silence was deafening. Then the whispers started. An orphan girl? At a royal selection? She's going to embarrass our whole village. Poor thing doesn't even know how to use a fork properly. Mama Kemi pulled Amiya aside that evening. Listen, girl. I don't know who played this prank on you, but don't go. You'll be humiliated in front of the whole country. Those rich girls will eat you alive. Even Blessing, who'd been so excited about entering herself, looked at Amiya with pity. Mama Kemi is right. This isn't for people like us. I mean, I'm entering because I know how to dress, how to act. But you? Amiya, you're too simple. They'll destroy you on social media. That night, Amiya lay on her thin mat in the tiny room she rented behind the restaurant, staring at the envelope. Every logical part of her brain said to ignore it, to pretend it never happened. But a tiny voice, one she usually suppressed, whispered something different. What if? The car that picked up Amiya was nicer than any vehicle she'd ever been in. The driver was polite, the seats were leather, and there was even cold water in a small refrigerator. Amiya sat stiffly, terrified to touch anything. The 3-hour drive to the capital felt like both an eternity and a single heartbeat. When they pulled up to the Grand Palace Hotel, Amiya's jaw dropped. The building was massive, modern, all glass and gold. Red carpets led to the entrance where photographers were already gathering. Other cars were arriving too, Mercedes, Range Rovers, even a Rolls-Royce. Women stepped out in designer outfits, perfect makeup, expensive jewelry. They moved with confidence, waving at cameras, posing for photos. Amiya looked down at her best outfit, a simple blue dress that she'd borrowed from the wife of the village pastor. It was clean and modest, but next to these women, she felt like a shadow. Miss Amiya? An attendant appeared at her car door. Welcome. Please follow me. Inside, the hotel was even more overwhelming. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, staff in pristine uniforms everywhere. Amiya was led to a preparation room where other candidates were getting ready. The moment she walked in, conversations stopped. Eyes scanned her from head to toe. Whispers started immediately. Who is that? Is she lost? Maybe she's here to clean. Oh my God, is that what she's wearing? A tall, elegant woman with perfectly styled hair approached, her smile not reaching her eyes. Hi. I'm Zara Mensa. My father owns Mensa Industries. And you are? Amiya. Amiya Okonkwo. Okonkwo. I don't recognize that name. What does your family do? I don't have family. I'm an orphan. Zara's eyes widened in mock surprise, but Amiya could see the cruelty underneath. Oh, how interesting. Well, good luck. She walked away, immediately whispering to her friends. Within minutes, every woman in the room knew. Amiya found a corner and sat down, trying to make herself invisible. Her hands were trembling. What was she doing here? This was a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. All candidates, please proceed to the grand ballroom, an announcement echoed through the room. Amiya's legs felt like lead as she followed the group. The ballroom doors opened, and her breath caught. It was magnificent, tables arranged in a U-shape, media cameras positioned everywhere, a stage at the front. There were at least 50 women present, all beautiful, all confident. They were directed to their seats. Amiya found her name card at a table near the back, of course. The women around her deliberately angled away, making sure she understood she wasn't welcome. Then the lights dimmed. Music played. And Prince Adrian walked onto the stage. He was even more striking than Amiya remembered, tall and commanding in a perfectly tailored navy suit. His expression was carefully neutral as he scanned the room. The women sat up straighter, smiling their most dazzling smiles. Adrian's eyes moved across the ballroom slowly. Then they stopped. on Amiya. For just a moment, recognition flickered across his face. His carefully neutral expression softened into something almost like relief. Amiya's heart hammered in her chest. Around her, she felt the other women noticing where the prince's attention had landed. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. This wasn't going to be easy. Prince Adrian stepped up to the microphone, his eyes sweeping across the ballroom one more time before settling on his prepared speech. Good evening, ladies. Thank you for accepting this invitation to participate in the Royal Partnership Initiative. His voice was deep, calm, and authoritative. Every woman in the room hung on his every word, except Amiya, who was still trying to process the fact that he'd recognized her. I want to be clear about something, Adrian continued. This isn't a beauty pageant. I'm not looking for the most perfectly styled hair or the most expensive dress. I'm looking for character. Integrity. Kindness. The qualities that make a true partner, not just a princess for the cameras. Some of the women shifted uncomfortably. Zara and her friends exchanged knowing looks, as if to say they could fake those qualities easily enough. Over the next few weeks, you'll participate in various activities designed to reveal who you truly are. Some will be public, some private. Some comfortable, some challenging. Adrian's gaze drifted back to Amiya's corner briefly. At the end, I'll make my choice based on what I've observed, not what you've claimed to be. The evening began with what the organizers called a casual mixer, which was anything but casual. Women strategically positioned themselves near Adrian, laughing too loudly at things that weren't funny, touching his arm unnecessarily, competing for his attention like hunters circling prey. Amiya stayed in her corner, watching the spectacle with a mixture of fascination and discomfort. This wasn't her world. These weren't her people. Not joining the hunt? A voice beside her made her jump. She turned to find a young woman about her age, with warm brown skin, natural hair in beautiful twists, and a genuine smile. Unlike the others, she wore a simple elegant dress, expensive, but understated. I'm Thandai, the woman said, extending her hand. And before you ask, yes, my family insisted I enter. No, I don't actually want to marry a prince. And yes, I think this whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. Amiya couldn't help but smile. I'm Amiya. I know. You're the girl everyone's whispering about. Thandai sat down beside her. The orphan from the village who doesn't belong here. Their words, not mine, obviously. They're not wrong, Amiya said quietly. They're completely wrong, Thandai countered. You belong here as much as any of them. More, probably, since you're not pretending to be something you're not. She glanced at the crowd around Adrian. Look at them. It's embarrassing. For the first time since arriving, Amiya felt like she could breathe. The Personality Challenge, Day 2. The next morning, all candidates were transported to a community center in one of the capital's poorest neighborhoods. Cameras followed as Sarah Adeyemi explained the day's challenge. Today, you'll be working directly with underprivileged children, teaching, playing, helping with meals. This isn't about looking good for the cameras. This is about genuine connection and service. The reactions were immediate. Several women looked horrified. Zara whispered loudly enough for others to hear, they can't be serious. I just got my nails done. Amiya felt something shift inside her. This she knew how to do. While other women stood awkwardly at the edges, checking their phones and trying not to mess up their outfits, Amiya walked straight to the children. She knelt down to their level, started asking them questions, remembered names immediately. Within minutes, she had a group of kids laughing and engaged. From across the room, Adrian watched. He wasn't obvious about it, but Sarah noticed, and smiled knowingly. One little boy, maybe 6 years old, started crying because he missed his mother. Most of the candidates ignored him or looked uncomfortable. Zara actually stepped away, saying, someone should really handle that. Amiya moved without thinking. She scooped the boy up, held him close, and started singing a soft lullaby, the same one she remembered from the orphanage where she'd grown up. The boy's crying slowed, then stopped. He wrapped his arms around her neck. A camera captured the moment. So did Adrian's eyes. At lunch, while other women ate carefully to avoid messing up their makeup, Amiya helped serve food to the children, making sure the smallest ones got enough, wiping faces, tying shoelaces. She was sweaty, her borrowed dress had a stain, and her hair was coming loose. She'd never looked more beautiful. That evening, as candidates were being driven back to their hotels, Amiya received an unexpected message. Prince Adrian requests a private meeting. A car will pick you up at 7 p.m. Her roommate for the initiative, unfortunately, it was Zara, saw the message and her face twisted with jealousy. A private meeting already? What did you do, cry poverty to get his sympathy? Amiya didn't respond. She was too nervous. At 7 sharp, she was driven to a quiet restaurant, closed to the public for the evening. Adrian was already there, dressed casually in jeans and a simple black shirt. Without the cameras and crowds, he looked younger, more approachable. Amiya, he stood as she approached. Thank you for coming. Please, sit. She sat stiffly, unsure what to do with her hands. You can relax, he said gently. This isn't an interrogation. I just wanted to talk. Away from all the noise. Why me? The question escaped before she could stop it. Adrian leaned back, studying her. Because you're the only one who hasn't tried to impress me. The only one who acts the same whether cameras are on or off. The only one who... He paused, who seems real. I don't belong here, Your Highness, Amiya said, the words tumbling out. I don't have designer clothes or powerful family or any of the things those other women have. I don't even know why I came. This whole thing is... When was the last time someone chose you? Adrian interrupted quietly. The question hit her like a physical blow. Amiya's throat tightened. What? When was the last time someone looked at you and said, I choose you? You matter. You're worth it. His eyes were impossibly gentle. Because I'm guessing it's been a long time. Maybe never. Amiya felt tears burning behind her eyes. She couldn't speak. I see you, Amiya, Adrian continued. I saw you that day in the village, covered in stew but still worried about your boss being angry. I saw you today with those children, that wasn't an act. That's who you are. You don't know how rare that is in my world. Your world is not my world, she whispered. I'm just a village orphan who teaches children under trees and serves food for a living. Those women out there, they know how to be princesses. I don't even know which fork to use. Adrian smiled, a real, warm smile. Forks can be taught. Character can't. And for what it's worth, I'd rather have dinner with someone who doesn't know which fork to use but has a genuine heart than someone who knows perfect etiquette but has a fake soul. They talked for 2 hours. Adrian asked about her childhood, her dreams, her students. He listened, really listened, in a way Amiya had never experienced. And slowly, the nervous orphan girl began to fade, replaced by the real Amiya, intelligent, funny, passionate about education and children. Adrian told her about his own struggles, the pressure of being both a prince and a CEO, the loneliness of never knowing if people wanted him or his title, the exhaustion of maintaining a perfect public image. I'm tired of performing, he admitted. Every conversation, every appearance, every relationship, it's all been a performance. Except this. Right now. This feels real. When the evening ended and Amiya was driven back to her hotel, she felt different. Lighter somehow, despite knowing that this connection, whatever it was, would only make the other women hate her more. She was right. The next morning, gossip blogs exploded with headlines, Mystery Village Girl Gets Private Dinner with Prince Adrian. The photos showed them laughing together, talking intimately. Social media went crazy. Zara and her friends cornered Amiya in the hotel hallway. Congratulations, Zara said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. You managed to get sympathy points with your sad orphan story. Very clever. I didn't, Amiya started. Save it, another woman snapped. We all see what you're doing. Playing innocent, acting humble. It's pathetic. Amiya tried to walk past them, but Zara blocked her path. Enjoy it while it lasts. Because once Adrian sees what you really are, a gold-digging nobody trying to climb above her station, he'll drop you faster than you can say, Your Highness. That afternoon, the worst happened. Photos appeared online, clearly photoshopped but convincing, showing Amiya with a man, kissing, looking intimate. The headlines screamed, Prince's village girl exposed. Secret boyfriend revealed, and gold digger orphan playing both sides. The photos went viral within hours. News channels picked up the story. Comments flooded in. I knew she was too good to be true. Poor Prince Adrian being manipulated. Village girls should know their place. This is what happens when orphans get ideas above their station. Amiya sat in her hotel room, watching her character being destroyed in real time across every screen. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages, some supportive, but most vicious. Thandile burst into the room. Amiya, don't read those comments. The photos are fake, anyone with eyes can see they're edited. But the damage was done. Amiya felt everything crumbling around her. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe she never belonged here in the first place. Amiya didn't leave her hotel room for the rest of the day. She couldn't face the cameras, the whispers, the knowing looks. Room service knocked twice, but she sent them away. Her phone continued buzzing with notifications, each one another knife wound to her already bleeding reputation. By evening, the story had evolved. Experts on television were analyzing the photos, debating whether Prince Adrian had been fooled. Social media polls asked, should the village girl be disqualified? 78% voted yes. Thandile sat beside her on the bed, scrolling through her own phone with increasing anger. This is ridiculous. The photos are clearly fake, look at the lighting, the angles. Someone did a terrible Photoshop job. It doesn't matter if they're fake, Amiya whispered, her voice hollow. People want to believe them. They want me to be the villain because it makes sense to them. Poor orphan girl trying to trick a prince, it's the story they expect. A sharp knock on the door made them both jump. Before either could respond, the door opened and Sarah Adeyemi walked in, her expression unreadable. Amiya, we need to talk. Now. Amiya's heart sank. This was it, she was being sent home in disgrace. The palace has issued a statement, Sarah continued, pulling out her tablet. But before I show you, you need to know that Prince Adrian insisted on handling this personally. Against the advice of his PR team, his family, and everyone else. She turned the tablet around. On the screen was a live press conference. Prince Adrian stood at a podium, his expression serious and angry in a way Amiya had never seen. I'm going to address the photos circulating about candidate Amiya Okonkwo. Adrian's voice was cold, controlled fury. First, let me be absolutely clear, these images are fabricated. Our technical team analyzed them within an hour of publication and confirmed they are poorly executed digital manipulations. The reporters erupted with questions, but Adrian raised his hand for silence. Second, I want to address the disgusting commentary I've seen online and in media. A young woman's character is being assassinated because she dared to participate in an initiative that was supposed to be open to everyone, regardless of background. The cruelty and classism on display are exactly what this initiative was designed to challenge. He paused, his jaw tight. I have identified the source of these fake images. It came from the phone of another candidate, Zara Mensah. She will be immediately disqualified and removed from the initiative. Further legal action is being considered. Amiya gasped. Thandile grabbed her hand. On screen, Adrian continued. To everyone who shared these photos, who wrote cruel comments, who decided that a woman's worth is determined by her bank account or family name, you're the reason this country needs to change. Amiya Okonkwo has shown more genuine character in one day with underprivileged children than most people show in a lifetime. She deserves an apology, not attacks. The press conference ended, but social media immediately exploded again, this time in a different direction. The tide was turning. He defended you, Thandai whispered, her eyes wide. In front of the entire nation, he defended you. Sarah's stern expression finally cracked into a small smile. The prince would like to see you. Now. He's waiting downstairs. Amiya's legs were shaking as she stepped into the hotel's private meeting room. Adrian was there, pacing, still in his press conference suit. The moment he saw her, his expression softened. Amiya, I'm so sorry. I should have anticipated something like this. I should have. You didn't do anything wrong, she interrupted, her voice barely above a whisper. You've been nothing but kind to me. But Your Highness, everyone else is right. I don't belong in this world. Look at what happened. One day of attention and my life became a circus. Imagine what it would be like if... She couldn't finish the sentence. If what? Adrian moved closer. If we continued getting to know each other? If you stayed in the initiative? If I stayed, this will keep happening. Those women, the media, your own people, they'll never accept me. I'm not elegant or educated enough. I don't know how to walk in heels or make small talk at fancy parties. I grew up in an orphanage, Your Highness. I eat with my hands sometimes because that's how I was raised. Stop, Adrian said firmly. He reached out and gently took her hands. Stop telling me why you're not good enough. You deserve someone elegant, someone educated, someone from your world. Someone who knows how to be a princess. Adrian's eyes were intense. I don't need someone who knows how to be a princess. I need someone who knows how to be human. I need someone real, Amiya. Someone who sees children crying and comforts them without thinking about the cameras. Someone who teaches for free because education matters. Someone who worries about spilled food because she doesn't want her boss to be angry, not because it messed up her designer outfit. Tears were streaming down Amiya's face now. Why? Why would you want that? You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. I want someone who makes me feel like I'm more than a title or a bank account. Someone who argued with me about children's education policy last night because she actually cares, not because she was trying to impress me. Someone who... He paused, his voice softening, who makes me want to be better. The moment stretched between them, heavy with things unsaid. Amiya wanted to believe him, wanted to let herself hope. But reality was harsh and unforgiving. Your Highness. Adrian, he corrected gently. When we're alone, please. Just Adrian. Adrian, she whispered, the name feeling strange on her tongue. Even if everything you're saying is true, there's still your family. Your mother. The Queen. She'll never accept me. Adrian's expression darkened slightly. My mother doesn't make my decisions. But she should have a say in who you marry. She's the Queen. And I'm... Amiya gestured helplessly at herself, I'm nobody. You're not nobody, Adrian said fiercely. And my mother will see that. I'll make sure she sees that. But he didn't sound as confident as he wanted to. 2 days later, as the initiative continued with various challenges that Amiya quietly excelled at while others performed for cameras, the summons came. Not a request, a command. Her Majesty Queen Adiz requests the presence of Miss Amiya Okonkwo. Immediately. Thandai helped Amiya get ready, lending her a more formal dress. Just be yourself, she advised. It worked with Adrian. The Queen isn't Adrian, Amiya replied, her hands shaking as she tried to fix her hair. The palace was even more magnificent than the hotel, sprawling, modern yet regal, with guards in traditional ceremonial uniforms alongside modern security. Amiya was led through marble hallways lined with portraits of previous monarchs until she reached a private sitting room. Queen Adiz sat by a window, backlit by afternoon sun. She was elegant, regal, with silver threading through her perfectly styled hair and an expression that revealed nothing. She wore traditional royal attire, rich fabrics and ancestral jewelry that probably cost more than everything Amiya had owned in her entire life. "Sit," the queen commanded. Not invited, commanded. Amiya sat on the edge of the indicated chair, her back straight, hands folded in her lap. The queen studied her in silence for what felt like an eternity. Finally, she spoke. "My son is making a fool of himself over you." The words were sharp, direct, cutting. "Your Majesty, I never intended." "I don't care about your intentions," Queen Adiz interrupted. "I care about results. My son is the future king. He needs a partner who understands duty, protocol, politics. Someone who can navigate the complexities of royal life without constant guidance. Someone who won't embarrass the crown." Each word felt like a slap. "You seem like a nice girl, Amiya. Kind, genuine. I can see why Adrian is attracted to that. He spent his whole life surrounded by calculated people. Your simplicity is refreshing to him." "But?" Amiya whispered, because there was clearly a "but" coming. "But refreshing isn't enough," the queen said coldly. "Royal life will crush you. The pressure, the scrutiny, the constant judgment, it breaks people far stronger than you. You'll be miserable. And eventually, you'll make him miserable too." Queen Adiz leaned forward. "I'm giving you a chance to walk away with dignity. Leave now, quietly. I'll ensure you're taken care of, money for school, a good job, a fresh start somewhere else. You can build a real life, free from all this pressure." "But not a life with Adrian," Amiya said quietly. "Not a life with Adrian," the queen confirmed. "Because that life would destroy you both." Amiya sat in silence, the queen's words echoing in her mind. Everything she said made sense. Everything she said was probably true. An orphan village girl had no business dreaming of princes. "I'll give you until tomorrow morning to decide," Queen Adiz said, standing. The meeting was clearly over. "But Amiya, make the right choice. For both of you." That night, Amiya packed her small bag with shaking hands. The queen was right. This had been a beautiful dream, but it was time to wake up. She left a note for Adrian, just 3 words, "I'm so sorry." And then she slipped out of the hotel before dawn, leaving behind the only fairy tale she'd ever been part of. Adrian stared at the note in his hand, the 3 words blurring as anger and heartbreak warred inside him. "I'm so sorry." That was it. That was all she'd left him. "When did she leave?" he demanded. Sarah checked her tablet, her expression apologetic. Security footage shows she left around 5 a.m. She took a taxi to the bus station. "The bus station?" Adrian's voice rose. "She doesn't even have proper money for transport and no one thought to stop her?" "Your Highness, she wasn't being held prisoner. She had every right to leave." "Find out where she went," Adrian interrupted, already pulling out his phone. "Now." Sarah hesitated. "Your Highness, perhaps this is for the best. Your mother." Adrian's head snapped up, his eyes flashing with realization. "My mother. She spoke to Amiya, didn't she?" The look on Sarah's face was answer enough. Within the hour, Adrian was storming through the palace corridors toward his mother's private quarters. Guards stepped aside, recognizing the expression on his face. They'd seen it before when Prince Adrian made up his mind about something. Queen Adiz was having morning tea when her son burst through the doors. "What did you say to her?" Adrian's voice was controlled, but barely. The queen set down her teacup with deliberate calm. "I told her the truth. That she doesn't belong in this world and that trying to fit into it would destroy both of you. You had no right. I had every right." Queen Adiz's composure cracked. "I'm your mother and your queen. I've watched you build this initiative, seen you become distracted by a village girl with pretty eyes and a sad story. She's more than that and you know it," Adrian said coldly. You know exactly what she is, genuine, kind, selfless. Everything you've always said you wanted from me. But the moment she doesn't come from the right family or have the right connections, she's not good enough. She's not strong enough for this life, the Queen insisted. I'm protecting her as much as you. The media will tear her apart. Society will never fully accept her. She'll spend every day being compared to women who were born into this world, trained for it. Is that what you want for someone you claim to care about? Adrian moved closer, his voice dropping. What I want is to make my own choice. For the first time in my life, I've found someone who makes me feel like a person, not a prince. Someone who challenges me, who doesn't agree with everything I say just because of who I am. Someone real. Reality is what I'm trying to show you, Queen Adiz said, her voice softening slightly. I'm not the villain here, Adrian. I'm trying to save you both from a mistake. The only mistake, Adrian said quietly, was letting you interfere. He turned and walked out, leaving his mother standing alone with her cold tea. The drive to the village. Adrian dismissed his security detail, something that made them extremely nervous, and got into his own car. Just him, the open road, and 3 hours to think about what he was going to say when he found Amiya. If she'd even talk to him. His phone kept ringing, his assistant, his PR team, Sarah, even some of the remaining initiative candidates who'd heard he was leaving the palace. He ignored them all. The paved roads eventually gave way to dusty village paths. Children playing football stopped to stare at the expensive car. Women carrying water looked curious. Adrian barely noticed. He was looking for one person. He found her under the old tree. Amiya sat surrounded by her students, the same children she'd been teaching the day he first saw her. She was pointing at something in a textbook, her voice animated as she explained. She wore her old clothes again, her hair pulled back simply. No makeup, no borrowed fancy dresses. She looked like herself. She looked beautiful. Adrian parked and got out. The children noticed him first, their eyes going wide. Then Amiya looked up. The expression on her face, shock, fear, hope, sadness all mixed together, made his heart ache. Your Highness, she whispered, standing up quickly. What are you? Children, can Miss Amiya and I talk privately for a moment? Adrian asked gently. The kids nodded, scrambling away but not going far. They wanted to watch this drama unfold. Amiya wrapped her arms around herself, defensive. You shouldn't be here. Your mother. I know what my mother said, Adrian interrupted. I know she told you that you don't belong, that you're not strong enough, that this life would destroy us both. Amiya's eyes filled with tears. She's right, isn't she? Look at what happened with just those fake photos. Imagine dealing with that every day, for the rest of my life. Imagine your children, our children, being mocked because their mother used to serve food at a roadside restaurant. Is that what you think would happen? Adrian moved closer. That I would let anyone mock you or our children? That I wouldn't protect you with everything I have? You can't protect me from reality, Amiya said, her voice breaking. I'll never be elegant enough, educated enough, royal enough. I'll always be the orphan girl who got lucky. And eventually, you'll see that too. You'll see what everyone else sees, that I'm not good enough for you. Stop, Adrian said firmly. He reached out and gently cupped her face, making her look at him. Stop telling me what I'll see or feel or think. I know what I see, Amiya. I see a woman who gives everything she has to children who aren't even hers. I see someone who works 2 jobs and still finds time to teach for free. I see someone who worried about ruining food instead of her own dignity when she was covered in stew. Tears spilled down her cheeks. That's not enough to be a princess. You're right, Adrian said, and watched her face crumple. Then he continued, it's not enough to be a princess. It's enough to be a queen. My queen. Amiya's breath caught. I don't need someone who knows which fork to use, Adrian said softly. I need someone who knows that feeding hungry children matters more than fancy table manners. I don't need someone who can make small talk at parties. I need someone who'll tell me the truth even when it's uncomfortable. I don't need perfect, I need real. Your mother will never accept me, Amiya whispered. My mother will learn to accept you. Or she won't. But either way, I'm choosing you, Amiya. Not because you're perfect for the role, because you're perfect for me. Adrian. She started, but couldn't continue through her tears. I know I'm asking you to step into a world that will judge you harshly. I know there will be people who'll never let you forget where you came from. I know it won't be easy. Adrian's voice was steady, sure. But I'm not asking you to face it alone. I'm asking you to face it with me. As my partner. As my equal. As my choice. One of the children, little Kayamika, couldn't contain herself anymore. Teacher Amiya, say yes. He's a prince. Several other children giggled. Even Amiya managed a watery laugh. I'm scared, she admitted quietly, just for him. So am I, Adrian said honestly. I've never done this before, chosen someone for real, not for politics or image. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe with anyone else. Amiya looked into his eyes and saw the truth there, he meant every word. This wasn't a fairy tale. This was real, messy, complicated. But it was also beautiful. Okay, she whispered. Okay? Adrian's face lit up with hope. Okay, I'll try. I'll try to be brave enough for this. For us. Adrian pulled her into his arms, and the children erupted in cheers. Some of the villagers who'd been watching from a distance started clapping. Even Mama Kemi, standing in the doorway of her restaurant, was wiping her eyes. We should go back, Adrian said after a moment. Together. And this time, you're not running away. What about your mother? The other candidates? The media? Adrian smiled, the real smile she was learning to recognize. Let me worry about that. You just focus on being yourself. That's all I need you to be. 2 days later, Prince Adrian called an emergency press conference. All the remaining initiative candidates were required to attend. The media speculated wildly, had he made his choice? Was the initiative being cancelled? Had the village girl really come back? Adrian stood at the podium, cameras flashing from every direction. Behind him, 20 women waited in designer gowns, each one hoping to hear her name. Amiya stood with them, wearing a simple but elegant dress that Thandai had insisted on buying her. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone must be able to hear it. Thank you all for coming, Adrian began. I know there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of drama, a lot of opinions about how this initiative should end. But I've made my decision. The room fell silent. The Royal Partnership Initiative was designed to help me find a true partner, someone with character, compassion, and integrity. Over these past weeks, I've seen performances. I've seen calculated moves. I've seen people trying to be what they think I want instead of who they really are. He paused, his eyes finding Amiya in the crowd. But I've also seen something real. I've seen someone who didn't try to impress me, who didn't pretend to be something she's not, who showed more genuine kindness in one afternoon with children than most people show in a lifetime. Several women shifted nervously. Zara's replacement, a woman named Funmi, was already tearing up, she thought she'd won. My official bride, Adrian said clearly, the woman I choose to stand beside me, is Amiya Okonkwo. The room exploded. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted questions over each other. Some of the remaining candidates gasped in shock, while others, like Thandai, were clapping and crying happy tears. Amiya stood frozen, unable to process what had just happened. Adrian had just announced to the entire nation that he was choosing her, the orphan, the nobody, the girl who served food at roadside restaurants. Adrian stepped away from the podium and walked directly to her, ignoring the frenzy of media and the shocked faces around them. He took her trembling hand in his. "You okay?" he asked softly, just for her. "I think I'm going to faint," she whispered honestly. "Please don't. The media would have a field day with that." His slight smile gave her something to focus on, something real in the midst of all this chaos. Sarah appeared, efficiently guiding them toward a private exit as security held back the press. But not before the cameras captured the moment, Prince Adrian holding hands with the village girl, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. Within minutes, the announcement was trending worldwide. Hashtag Prince chooses Orphan, hashtag Real Love Wins, hashtag Modern Fairy Tale, the hashtags multiplied by the second. The reactions were split exactly as expected. Half the country celebrated, finally, a prince who chose love over status. Others were outraged, the monarchy is becoming a joke. Traditional families expressed concern. Progressive voices praised the choice. Social media exploded with both support and vicious criticism. But the most important reaction was still to come. 3 days after the announcement, Amiya received a formal summons, not a command this time, but a request. Queen Adise requests the pleasure of Miss Amiya Okonkwo's company for private tea. "It's a trap," Thandai said immediately. She'd become Amiya's unofficial advisor and fierce protector. "She's going to try one more time to convince you to leave." "Maybe," Amiya admitted. "But I can't avoid her forever. She's going to be my mother-in-law." The words felt surreal even as she said them. This time, when Amiya entered the Queen's private sitting room, the atmosphere was different. Queen Adise sat in the same chair, but the afternoon light made her look less intimidating, tired, perhaps even vulnerable. "Sit, Amiya," the Queen said, and this time it wasn't quite a command. "Tea?" "Yes, please, Your Majesty." Amiya sat carefully, accepting the delicate cup with hands that only shook slightly. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Queen Adise spoke. "I was 19 when I married into this family," she began, her voice softer than Amiya had ever heard it. "I came from wealth, from a good family, from the right background. I had years of preparation, training, education in protocol and politics. And still, the first 5 years nearly broke me." Amiya listened, surprised by this unexpected confession. The scrutiny, the judgment, the constant pressure to be perfect, it was suffocating. "I had panic attacks in private. I cried myself to sleep more nights than I can count. And I had every advantage you don't have." The Queen looked at Amiya directly. "So when I told you this life would destroy you, I wasn't being cruel. I was being honest. Because if it almost destroyed me with all my preparation, what would it do to you?" "I'm scared," Amiya admitted quietly. "Every single day, I'm terrified. But I'm more scared of living my whole life wondering, what if? What if I'd been brave enough to try? What if love really could be enough?" Queen Adise studied her for a long moment. "You really love my son, don't you? This isn't about the palace or the title or the money." "I love Adrian," Amiya said simply. "Not Prince Adrian. Just Adrian. The man who helped me when I spilled food on myself. The man who talks about wanting to make real change in the country. The man who listens when I talk about my students and actually cares about their futures. That's who I love." Something shifted in the Queen's expression, not quite approval, but perhaps the beginning of acceptance. "I have one question for you, and I need you to answer honestly," Queen Adise said. "When things get hard, and they will get hard, when the media attacks you, when society judges you, when you feel completely alone in a room full of people, what will keep you from breaking?" Amiya thought about the question carefully. "The same thing that's kept me going my whole life," she finally answered. "Knowing that my worth isn't determined by what other people think of me. I've been called worthless my entire life, Your Majesty. I've been the orphan nobody wanted, the poor girl with no future, the one people mocked and pitted. But I survived all of that by knowing who I really am, someone who has value not because of where I came from, but because of what I choose to do with my life." She met the Queen's eyes steadily. "I won't break because I've already been broken and put myself back together." The difference is, this time I won't be alone. I'll have Adrian. And maybe, eventually, I'll have you too. For the first time, Queen Adise smiled, small, but genuine. You're stronger than I gave you credit for. I learned from strong women, Amiya said. The orphanage matrons who raised me, Mama Kemi who gave me a job when no one else would, the mothers in my village who trusted me with their children. And now, maybe, I can learn from you too. The queen was quiet for a moment. Then she stood, and Amiya quickly followed. I won't pretend I'm not concerned, Queen Adise said honestly. I won't pretend this will be easy or that I'm completely comfortable with my son's choice. But I will give you a chance to prove me wrong. Will that be enough? It's more than enough, Your Majesty, Amiya said, relief flooding through her. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, the queen said, but there was warmth in her voice now. You still have to survive wedding planning. That might be harder than anything else. 6 months later, the entire nation stopped to watch the royal wedding. It wasn't traditional, nothing about this union was, but it was magnificent. The cathedral was filled with a mix of royalty and regular people. Orphans from Amiya's childhood home sat beside business moguls. Her former students wore their best clothes in the front rows. Mama Kemi dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief, sitting near diplomats and politicians. Outside, thousands gathered to watch on giant screens. Millions more watched online, the live stream breaking records. Drones captured aerial footage. Hashtags trended globally. Amiya walked down the aisle in a gown that honored both her humble roots and her new position, elegant but not ostentatious, traditional African fabrics woven with modern design. She'd insisted on keeping it relatively simple. I want to still look like me, she'd told the designers. Adrian waited at the altar, and when their eyes met, nothing else mattered. Not the cameras, not the crowds, not the weight of a nation's expectations. Just them. When she reached him, he whispered, "You were worth fighting for." "So were you," she whispered back. The ceremony was beautiful, blending traditional monarchy customs with personal touches that reflected who they really were. Children from Amiya's village sang. Adrian's vows included a promise to always see you as Amiya first, princess second. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the crowd erupted in cheers that could be heard blocks away. "Your Highness, the children are waiting for you," an aide said gently. Princess Amiya, she still wasn't used to the title, looked up from the education policy document she'd been reviewing. "Tell them I'll be right there." She stood, smoothing down her simple but elegant dress. These days, she split her time between royal duties and her real passion, expanding free education programs across the country. The People's Princess, the media had dubbed her, and surprisingly, it had stuck. She walked through the palace corridors toward the children's wing, a new addition she'd convinced Adrian and the Queen to approve. Orphans and underprivileged children now came to the palace twice a week for tutoring, meals, and mentorship. When she opened the door, 15 bright faces looked up at her. Some were shy, some confident, all of them from backgrounds similar to hers. She saw herself in each of them. "Good afternoon, Princess," they chorused. "Good afternoon, everyone. Now, who remembers what we learned about mathematics last week?" Adrian found her there 2 hours later, sitting on the floor with children clustered around her, laughing as she explained fractions using pieces of actual cake. His heart swelled with love, and with certainty that he'd made the right choice. Queen Adise stood beside her son, watching. "She's good with them," the Queen admitted. "She's good for us," Adrian corrected. "For all of us. She's making this country better." The Queen smiled, something she did more often these days. "She proved me wrong. I'm glad she did." That evening, as Amiya and Adrian stood on their private balcony overlooking the city, she leaned against him with a contented sigh. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "Choosing me? Dealing with all the criticism and complications?" Adrian wrapped his arms around her. "Not for a single second." "Do you?" "Sometimes I miss the simplicity of my old life," she admitted. But then I remember, I'm helping more children now than I ever could have before. I'm making real changes. And I have you. So no regrets. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint Lagos in gold and purple. We're going to be okay, aren't we? Amiya asked. We're going to be better than okay, Adrian promised. We're going to show everyone that love isn't about status or wealth or background. It's about choosing each other, every single day. And they did. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful journey with Amiya and Adrian. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that true love can break through any barrier, if you believe that genuine character matters more than bank accounts and family names, then we need your support. Please smash that like button. Subscribe to TeeJay Stories and hit that notification bell so you never miss another incredible African tale. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that they're worthy of love exactly as they are. Share it with anyone who's ever felt invisible or not good enough. Share it with people who believe in real love. Drop a comment below and tell us. What was your favorite moment in Amiya and Adrian's story? Do you believe a modern prince could really choose an orphan girl? Would you have been brave enough to accept Adrian's proposal? What should our next story be about?